Is it recording already?
Yeah.
Okay, is everybody ready?
Yes. Yes, we are. Open the space.
No. I'm okay, thank you. Can the people online hear us?
Yeah.
Good. So, yeah, thank you everyone for joining this presentation today. We have Nicolas Gasiglia. He's a visiting researcher and a PhD candidate at ESCP Paris Business School. So he's doing his work at the intersection of marketing and degrowth. He's looking more specifically, I mean, he will tell you more about that later, but into how degrowth ideas are making their way into corporate boardrooms and business environments, but at a more practical level. So apart from the academic, his academic career, before joining the academia, he had a 16 years experience in the industry, right?
Yes.
So, yeah. So he's spent a lot of time working for some big companies, Nicolas was the marketing manager and sustainability director at Car Noir in the Lavazza group.
Mm.
And yeah, he's going to tell us more about his work in progress. This is a paper that you have under development,
Yes.
right, with your supervisor. So the floor is yours.
Thank you. So thank you very much,
Yeah.
Javier, and I'm super happy to be here. Can you hear me properly? Is it okay? Yes. Okay. So so I'm Nicolas Gasiglia. I'm French. You can see it by my accent. I'm in third year PhD at ESCP. That is the Paris Business School. This is an ongoing presentation, in progress presentation of the work based on my thesis. And this is the preparation for a paper that I'm working with my supervisor, that is Julien Schmidt, that is also a professor at ESCP. This study focuses, as Javier told you, on how marketing work is challenged when an organization is trying to adopt a strong sustainability model. So I will explain it a little bit, but the focus of this study is to understand and to analyze what marketers do in company, in their daily job, in their daily life, when the organization decided to shift its models and to move from market orientation to an orientation that is focused on how the ecosystem are living. I have articulated this presentation in three big parts. You will see for the result part. So first, I will show you what is the transformation process in the organization that is occurring. Second, I will focus on what kind of practices are adapted, what kind of practices disappear when the organization shifts its orientation, and what practices are emerging. And then it's still in progress, but I will show you the different tension that emerge in a company that has decided to shift its orientation. So if you have any understanding question due to my French or because you don't know anything, please feel free. Anyway, we have time after the presentation you will have time to ask your question. So for those, it takes a little time. Okay, I will have to. So I decided to open with a Spanish painting from Francisco Goya. Do you know this painting? Yes. Okay, it's famous. So I chose this one. It is called in English. It is called Duel with Cudgel. On the painting, you can see two men that are fighting for their lives. The only things that matter is to defeat the other guy. Do you know why I chose this painting? Do you see anything that is special about this painting, except the background? The fact that, yes, you want to... What?
Yeah, they are.
Somebody paint over.
No, they are trapped. They are trapped.
They are trapped. Actually, when you see, I'm not moving, but when you see at the bottom of the painting, they are both stuck in mud, and actually the two guys are sinking in the mud, and still they are yet fighting each other. I chose this image because for me it's a metaphor on how the markets are working in the Anthropocene. Our conviction with this study is that when you face the change that are needed in the Anthropocene, people in organization, they are not necessarily stuck in their heads, but in their practice. So in organization, people are trapped in market logic. They are embedded in routine, habit, practices that drive how organizations are working today. So with this study, I wanted really to focus on the analysis of a company that is aware that we are all thinking and refuses to think anymore and to change its orientation. So my research question is to understand how marketing practices can evolve in an organization that chooses a model that is centered on how ecosystems are living. So why do we need to question marketing today? I'm sorry, the first step, the first thing is in French, but you recognize the planetary boundaries. So the breaching of the planetary boundaries show us that a simple optimization in organization is no longer adaptive. A recent study has shown that we have only 5% of chance to achieve and to meet the Paris Agreement. So it becomes critical when we are in social sciences, but especially in management, to rethink the framework of action with a strong sustainability paradigm. A strong sustainability paradigm is defined by the idea that natural resources should be preserved in their integrity, and that natural capital cannot be replaced by economic capital. But the majority of marketing practices, they remain focused in one single goal, that is increasing the profit of the organization by meeting the needs or the desire of the consumer. So in this work, we want to study the transformation of the company that has chosen not to be stuck in the mud, and that has decided not to ignore the planetary boundaries breaching anymore. So this leads us to our research question, that is, how do marketing practices transform when an organization seeks to adopt a strong sustainability framework? So this study is rooted in marketing management literature. There's a work of Camper and Ballantyne, there are two scholars in marketing, that proposes a typology of different approaches of sustainability in marketing. And they said there are three different approaches. The first one is auxiliary. Basically, you are doing business as usual, and marketing is only responding to the needs of green consumer. So you will only work as usual, but you will have a green approach in a traditional marketing tool. In the second approach, that is reformative, there's the marketing action are also trying to encourage a more responsible behavior in the consumer. So they will use the marketing tools, such as, for instance, advertising, in order to create awareness that the consumer is also responsible to adopt a more responsible consumer. And in the third approach, that is where I focus my study, the transformative approach, it begins with the realization that to achieve a sustainable society, it requires large institutional organizational change, and that marketing can't do it alone for sure, but it has a role to play, and it calls for a transformative role of marketing it means changing the norm, the objective, the practices of marketing. And actually, there is a growing call in marketing management literature for having more and more work about transformative marketing, and especially to understand how can we conceptualize practices, operational, organizational practices that are in a more transformative approach. So with this study, I'm clearly anchoring the study in the third approach. And the idea is not to consider marketing as a bundle of tool or instrumental tool, but as a set of practices to be reconfigured from the inside. So this is the approach I'm taking, because when I first start my study, my initial goal was to analyze and to understand what really happened in organization, what really happened in a business organization, and what marketers do in real life, how they work. So the perspective, it's how I see marketing in an organization. So it's not like a toolbox that would be universal and that would be valid in every context. But I see marketing as a situated workspace that is where there is negotiation, where there is work of legitimation that are shaped by people that do marketing every day. So it reloops with the concept of marketing works, that is the set of daily activity that produce, stabilize, or context what it means to do marketing. And this is the same approach in marketing as practice. That is an integrated framework that has been developed by Scalen, Kova, and their colleague. And the idea is to see marketing practices with the approach of the theory of practice. So to define practice, it's like a huge approach. There are really different way of thinking practices. I chose to build and to choose the definition that is made by Shatsky. So it's 3 dimensions of practices. What do people do in their daily life? What meanings and what are the shared understanding that they give to the action they do? And the material, so all the tools, the artifact, the technology they are using to perform a practice. And it's with this lens that I have studied the transformation of the marketing department. So the methodology, it's a qualitative study. It's a single case study with a longitudinal approach, because I am part of the company, so it's a professional contract. I've joined the company and I've started to collect data in January 2023. And the study here, you will see the data collection extend until January 2025, so almost 2 years. And I'm still working in this company. The idea for me was to be really in an immersion, so with a strong also ethnographic approach. So basically, I spent 3 days a week in the marketing department in order to better understand what is really changing or not changing, what is adapted in their practices. I chose the company that is called Expansions. Expansions, it's a French pharmaceutical company. I chose them for 2 reasons. The first one is that it's at the beginning of the data collection, it's a fully market-oriented company. It's really in the business, on the market. It has it generates more than 320 million of revenue each year. So it's a quite big company that is present in 14 different markets all over the world. There are more than 1,000 people that are working for Expansion. They have their own factory, and basically they sell all over the world. They have this famous brand in France, so maybe you don't know that is Mustela, that has a lot of awareness. That is actually a leader in the baby skincare category in pharmacy. So basically, it sells cream, etc., everything that is needed to take care of the skin of the baby. I chose them because the company is market-oriented, and if I take the definition of yin, it's an extreme case because they decided to shift their orientation. In 2022, they joined what is called the CEC. So this is an extract from the Climate Entreprise Convention. It's a group of 150 companies, French companies, that have decided that it's no longer possible to ignore the planetary boundaries. So it was basically a group of companies that during 1 year and a half decided to rethink their business, their priority, and to publicly commit to become regenerative. So the way the company has decided to shift from market orientation to a strong sustainability model is the regenerative model. The regenerative model, it's when we are talking about an organization, it's a very unclear concept. Basically, when you look at the literature in management, in strategy, it says that the company should first reach positive net impact. And the ultimate goal of a company that is regenerative is to be in co-evolution with the living world, meaning that the activities of the company are so embedded in how the ecosystem are working that the destiny of one is fully embedded in the destiny of the other. So the company, I won't go in the clarity or what is unclear in the regenerative model. It can be a question from your side. The company has publicly decided to become to reach the regenerative, to become regenerative in 2035, and they were quite famous in France in the business world because. Once they have said that, in the same month, they decided to stop selling a flagship product, that is the baby single wipes category. So les lingettes in France that you use to clean the baby. They were leader on this category with 60% of market share, and they said in 2027 we will be at 0. So we will exit the market for ecological reasons. So I was really interested in joining, and this is why I chose this company, because clearly there's in the discourse, there's a change in their global orientation. So for the data collection and analysis, so it's quite simple. I've organized the collection according to the 3 dimensions of practices. So doing, meanings, and materials. For the doing, I conducted field observation. So basically, I'm part of the meetings they do with their advertising agency, with the top management, with the R&D, etc. I also, as a former marketer, there's a strong reflexivity approach because it challenges also the way I used to work in marketing. So for me, it's quite a challenge also to, and it raises new question. So that's why I have a journal. For the meanings, basically it's a semi-structured interview with now I have a 50 interview with the CEO, but basically all the people that are working in the marketing department. I'm also part of the WhatsApp group in order to understand how they talk about their job, etc. And for the materials, so the tools, the artifacts that are mobilized in practice, I collected document, template, brief, dashboard, marketing communication element, etc. So here an example of the data I collected. just to give you a quick outlook. Here, it's a marketing workshop I participated, where you can see two marketing people that are working to identify what are the negative externalities of the current business model of the brand Mustela. This is, I'm sorry, it's in French, I should have translated, but this is a presentation that has been made to the top management, because the marketing, once the CEO has announced that they should stop selling wipes, they decided to launch a series of workshops. So during one day, each trimester, each quarter, they decided all together with on a collective approach to rethink their own marketing practices. So the marketing director is saying, we need to rethink our job because before it kills itself. So, for instance, those are the four workshop or axes they decided to present to the general management. For instance, the last one in French, what does it mean? It means how can the marketing be the voice of the living beyond the voice of the consumer? Another example here is an internal meeting I did, so you can see my face, it's on team, it's with the CSR, but also the marketing. They wanted to map and to design, can they imagine a new performance tool in order to measure and to assess the performance of their products beyond only business and marketing metrics. And here it's just a photo on in the marketing open space. This is the personal locker of a marketing guy. It's a wordplay. I will translate it. They said you can see ACViste. It's a wordplay between ACV, which means life cycle analysis in France, and activist. So this is a way that marketing people wants to define themselves, maybe with this photo. So let's move to the result. So three parts of the result. First, what is the transformation process? I identified three phases. We will focus then on the third phase, that is the reconfiguration of practices themselves, and then a list of what are the major emerging tension that appears during the transformation dynamics. So the process of the transformation process, of course, it's not linear. There are three phases. First, what I call the tipping point is the beginning of the transformation, then the negotiation of the meaning of regeneration, and then the reconfiguration of practices. In the tipping point, there are two dynamics. The first one is the legitimation of the idea of limits. We talked about it at lunch yesterday, and a decision that breaks from the conventional market logic. So I told you about the exit of the single-use baby wipes category. In this first phase, through the voice of the CEO, the company has announced that the way the organization is working today is unsustainable. So the first idea is that the CEO is trying to legitimize the fact that now we should think the business of the company in the idea of limits. So she has crafted a discourse that paints the society in 2035, and how the market will look like and what the company will look like in 2035. So it's a prospective narrative that is repeated again and again within the organization. And the goal is to show that the way the organization is working today can no longer ignore the planetary boundaries anymore. The CEO keeps saying in the company, we can't negotiate with the planetary boundaries. With this discourse, so the idea and the goal is to legitimize the idea of limit. Then it's the CEO announces, so it's a top-down decision, announces one decision that is the exit of the category of the baby wipe for the in 2027 for ecological reason. This decision has been also supported by extensive media coverage. So she went in all all the TV show or the business TV show to explain the decision. So this is a strong break from the traditional and the conventional market logic. In the second phase, there is a negotiation phase. After the announcement of the company to become regenerative, the marketing team has launched a series of workshops that is called Rethink Marketing. And the idea is to redefine the mission, the processes, the objectives, the practices, the tools that marketers use on a daily basis in order to be aligned with this regenerative model. And once this objective is announced, there's a phase of negotiation. A negotiation at two stages. The first one is, what does it mean to become regenerative? So what is the purpose? What does it look like to do regenerative marketing? The second kind of negotiation is, how do we want to get there? So what are the priorities that we are taking? Who do we want to go with? Do we want to go with, for instance, our competitors or not? With what kind of internal or external stakeholder from the company do we want to go there? And the fact that the concept is unclear is opening a space for negotiation. I just quote two verbatim. One is from a girl from the marketing team. She's saying, we are a company that focuses too much on CO2 at the expense of CO. CO is contribution operational. So it's a wordplay, again, it's the margin, the financial margin. So she said, with this kind of workshop, we are going too far and we are losing sight the business and the margin we should provide. When we expose, for instance, one of the subsidiary, that is the Brazilian subsidiary, one of the quotes from the Brazilian director say, in Brazil, the problem is not the climate change at all. The problem is the social inequalities. So there's a kind of personal interpretation of what the problem is. In the last part of it's the reconfiguration of practices. Some existing practices are adapted, others disappear, and some new practices are emerging. When the marketing team has presented that to the CEO, it's one quote from their presentation. They said, our ambition is to deconstruct marketers and the traditional partner, the agency. So in the reconfigured practices, in the first category, I chose, maybe I won't deepen in all the boxes, but the first one is when you look at the existing practices that are adapted. Actually, there's a first transformation phenomenon that is the broadening of the transformation. So for instance, when the marketing is trying to redefine what their advertising or product brief should be, they said, okay, we will keep the same logic of the brief, but we will open the brief to a plurality of external and internal actors. So we will invite to the brief some environmental NGO or some healthcare professional in order to have like a more legitimacy and to broaden the legitimacy of action of the marketing. In the second line, it's some practices are complexifying. I won't go in the details in order to move a little bit. So some practices disappear. There are two transformation phenomenon. One kind of practices disappear because there's a decision and they say, okay, we can no longer do this. For instance, they decided to stop the limited edition. That is very useful in dermocosmetic to promote your product. But other practices are diluted. So I will show you just an example, meaning that before they used to do advertising or the message of advertising was traditionally very focused on the product or brand benefits. Now they try to adopt a broader perspective, so less messages on the product, but more on educational content. So basically, they will base their messages on the recommendation of the National Health Agency of the company. So this is an example. It used to be their solar cream before solar cream advertising, and now here you see what they are doing here is that they take what should be the national French health agency recommendation to protect from sun. You need shadow, you need to wear a hat, you need to wear a t-shirt, etc. And by the way, you need to use the Mustela cream. So of course, the market logic and the fact that they are promoting their brand benefit, their product is not disappearing at all, but it's more diluted in a broader messages with more educational content. And for the emergence, new practices, there are some reconfiguration phenomenon that is the experimentation. They try to propose not only plastic packaging, but what they call the multi-brand bulk machine. Bulk is vrac in France. So they have trying to impulse a new project within the competition. So they decided to create what is called the co-opetition. So to work with their direct competitors in order to propose a bulk machine that is multi-brand with their competitors. And they are leader about that. So to create a new way to place their product in the pharmacy. So what are the tensions that emerge? So actually, I'm still working on that. The first one is that when you reconfigure the practices, the professional practices, it's the professional identity of the people is placed under tension. So this is what Shatsky is calling the teleoaffective structure. It's a big name, but basically it's a set of purposes, so telos, and also all the affect and the emotion that are involved in the practices, so affective. And Shatsky said that it described the teleoaffective structure, described what is acceptable or desirable to do when you perform a practice. For instance, marketing people, they feel some marketers are feeling really a loss of pleasure in their job. They say, okay, I like to run advertising on Instagram. I like to do that. Now I'm doing a lot of Excel and doing a lot of life cycle analysis on the product. I didn't sign for that. They feel that their expertise is becoming more and more marginal. So for instance, one marketer, Marine, has decided to resign and to leave the company because she said, I don't recognize myself anymore in this job. So their question the pleasure at work, the contribution. They fear that with this new set of practices that seems very complex for them, they question the fact that will I be able to contribute to the group and to the organization? They also fear that there is a non-transferability of their skills on the job market, meaning that if I do something that is so new, can I sell myself to a new company with this kind of new hybrid job that is no longer purely marketing? The second tension is the feeling of never closing a project. Before, in their organization, they used to launch a product on the market and you see if it's working or not. Now, once the product is launched, they are already opening a new project in order to redesign the product for a lower carbon footprint. So they have what they call the OGN stables. In the mythology, the fact that you think that it's never ending. It's a never-ending process. They have a feeling of loneliness. So, for instance, I had interview with the marketing team that were working on the baby wipe category. What happened is that they decided to exit the market. So basically the business is dropping down, and the competitors, Pampers, they took all the market share they lost with less ecological products. So I have a very team that say we took the decision to stop selling baby wipes to preserve the environment, but the environment is in worse shape after our decision than before. So they are telling me, can we be right alone? So there's a kind of loneliness that appears. The fact that they feel also, some of them are feeling instrumentalized by management because they say, okay, we have more things to do and it's becoming more and more complex. It's a way for management not to promote us vertically. As the organization didn't change, they want to be promoted and to have like a vertical promotion. And for them, they think that there's a kind of instrumentalization saying, okay, if you didn't tick the box of having greener practices, you're not legitimate to be promoted vertically. And the last one, it's extract from the film, the movie, Le Guépard, El Gatto Pardo in Italian. Everything must change for nothing to change. Actually, there's a kind of strategy. For instance, the marketing say, okay, the problem of the planetary boundaries is the extractive logic. So they don't look at the volume growth anymore, and they only focus on the margin growth. But to grow the margin, because of their model, you need to grow the volume. So basically, there's a kind of strategic circularity, and people are questioning the fact that they say, okay, we don't look at volume anymore, but the fact that we look at margin, basically the model is still the same. It changes nothing. So this is the end. Those are the contribution I'm expecting for the discussion. Can I conceptualize transformative sustainable marketing practices? Transformation is not a linear process. It's a situated, progressive, incomplete process in which the actors, the practitioner is not also negotiated stuff versus its own interest, but also versus what Bourdieu called the habitus. So all the embedded interest and predisposition, they have like a market habitus. And for them, changing this orientation, it's a challenge of their market habitus. So it's not only personal interests that are at stake, it's also all the internal disposition that they have been embedded within them. And the fact that strong sustainability calls for a reconfiguration of purposes and affects. So in conclusion, rethinking marketing work in a finite world. So the planetary boundaries orientation puts the marketing work under pressure. It not only redefines its goal, it processes its tool, but also the condition of its legitimacy. Social legitimacy, functional legitimacy, but also identity legitimacy for the marketer. And more broadly, I'd like this empirical case to illustrate what Bruno is calling a landing, and that reloops with what Bonnet, Landivar, and Monin show in a book. So what kind of practices in the Anthropocene we must learn to do without, to live with, or to live with differently. I finished my presentation. I hope it was clear, and I'm really happy if you have questions.
Okay, thank you very much, Nicolas. That was really interesting. So now we are opening the floor for questions.